American Pie at 20. Why the raucous comedy could never be made today. Editors note the opinions in this article are the author's, as published by our content partner, and do not represent the views of MSN or Microsoft. American Pie could never be made today. Just the premise of high school boys vowing, by hook or by crook, to lose their virginity before prom feels like a game of Russian roulette with 4 bullets in the chamber. For their own guideline. Yet 20 years later, American Pie is being made all the time. It's being made in 1999, American Pie was at the end of one phase and the beginning of another, which is why it seems both dated and prescient. A relic from a randier era of cable-ready frat house and gross-out comedies, and a look ahead to a sweeter brand of raunch, rooted in deep friendships and the possibility of a more mature, longer-lasting romance. At the time, critics were divided on American Pie's contributions to the trend. The infamous pie, the semen in a beer cup, the mochaccino spiked with laxatives, but they were by no means the lowest of the low. And these set pieces, Gallery American Pie cast, where are they now? Wonderwall. 3 sequels and a direct-to-video spin-off series down the line. However, it's worth reflecting on the specific magic that made American Pie the sensation its predecessors and imitators were not. Much of it has to do. Directors Paul and Chris Weitz, working from a script by Adam Hirsch, give American Pie a democratic quality that allows all these young actors a chance to set themselves apart, though the boys naturally get more opportunities than the girls. Biggs, as Jim Levenstein, Biggs constantly hurls himself into a buzzsaw of sexual mortification, which the film shrewdly casts as at once identifiable and wildly over the top. It's common for American Pie emphasizes the camaraderie of the group and the harmless good nature of its members, who maybe aren't in the category of regrettable lovers, after all. But it gives. There's a moment in the film that deals with the fallout from Jim's webcam encounter with Nadia Elizabeth, the foreign exchange student. Jim's classmate, gallery child stars of the 90s then and now Microsoft Photos.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.